and welcome back to Nutrients for Life's celebration of Global Fertilizer Day. We are so excited that you've been able to join us and take a part in this celebration of the most important industry, the food industry. Um, we're gonna have a little interview. We're gonna come back with some questions, but I need you to do your part. I need you to go down to the bottom and to that Q&A tab and put your questions in because we've got a really interesting interview coming up, one that I've been looking forward to all day. It's with Ricky Henries. He's a heavy equipment operator, level 2, whatever that means, we'll find out, with mine services at Nutrien Corporation. Ricky has been in this job since 2005, and he's operating these giant pieces of equipment and giant pieces of machinery that mine out some of the fertilizer that gets used and helps us all raise food around the world. He's also interested and responsible for mine's process and water control. Again, we'll get to ask him some questions about what exactly that means as we get done with this interview. This interview is a good one. It's with Chris Glenn, the Director of Communications and Political Affairs at the Fertilizer Institute. So Chris and Ricky are going to talk a little bit about Ricky's job and give you some ideas about what you might do in the fertilizer industry. But remember, add those questions down at the bottom.
And happy Fertilizer Day. My name is Chris Glenn, and I'm the Director of Political Affairs and Communications at the Fertilizer Institute in Washington, D.C. Today, I'm speaking with Ricky Henries, who works for Nutrien. Nutrien is the largest fertilizer company in the world. It has operations in North and South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. I'm excited to speak with Ricky today because he is a heavy equipment operator at Nutrien's phosphate mine in North Carolina. And they've got quite a bit of heavy equipment down there. So Ricky, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, absolutely, no problem. Thank you for having me.
So now, as a heavy equipment operator, can you give us a brief overview of what exactly that entails? Starting with what kind of machinery we're talking about, what does it do, how does it work?
Yeah. So in our department where I run heavy equipment, I've been here 16 years with the company and run equipment just about my whole career down here. So we run bulldozers, excavators, motor graders, and they come in all size scales. I mean, from small to just enormous size. And we do different things, earth moving. I mean, we dig ditches, we move material with haul trucks, just endless things that we do with equipment on a day-to-day basis here at the Nutrien facility in Aurora.
Very cool. Now you mentioned the size of some of this equipment, and saying that this equipment is huge would be a massive understatement. So some of these machines that you're talking about are the largest mobile land machines that have ever been built. Can you give us just a better idea of just the massive scale of these machines?
Absolutely. So we have 3 drag lines that operate here in the mine in Aurora, and just to say the booms are 300 feet booms. That's how high they go up. They got a 70-yard bucket that digs material, which would basically be like putting 2 large vehicles inside this bucket. That's how much material it can move at one time. They weigh approximately 88.5 million pounds.
Wow.
And that's just the drag line, and it could cost in the upper end of $100 million to purchase a new one. Then we had a shovel. We no longer run that no more, but it had a 64-foot boom on it. It was about a 50 cubic yard, 85-ton bucket. And we would load 240-ton haul trucks in 3 passes with this machine.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it moved a lot of material quickly. And that could be upper end of 50 million for a new machine of that size.
Oh, wow.
In this department, we run 374 cat excavators, Caterpillars. They got about a 4.5 bucket on them and a stick length of about 15.5 feet. So that's our reach limit. And we can load a truck, a 50-ton haul truck in less than 2 minutes. And that's what we do consistently down here on this equipment.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. So with the size, the complexity, the cost, and the skill involved in running this kind of machinery, somebody definitely can't just walk out into a mine operation and say, hey, throw me the keys. I want to get in that thing and drive it. So, although that'd be a lot of fun if they did. So where does somebody start if they want to operate machinery like this? What kind of credentialing do they need, and what kind of training do they need?
Well, Nutrien, you don't have to go to college to come down here to work. You can put in an application and start with your boots on the ground at the bottom end. Obviously, this place is just, the training that they give you here is unbelievable. I mean, you're not going to get on nothing without a trained operator with you. You're going to have to put in a certain amount of hours on that piece of equipment. We have standard operating procedures, which SOPs, that we use for any piece of equipment we have down here, to understand the equipment, to understand the maintenance side of the equipment. And then, like I said, time, it's just time of learning. And they're going to give you the training here at Nutrien that you need to be able to run heavy equipment.
All right, that's great. So operationally speaking, and mechanically speaking, you need to know the ins and outs of this machine to operate safely, to operate it responsibly, and to make sure you're operating it efficiently. But also having a really good idea for the machine and knowing it so that you know when something's wrong, or when you have an idea of when something needs to be fixed prior to break it down. Because I imagine you mentioned the cost of these machines before to purchase, but the cost of them running is a high cost, and also the cost of them being down for maintenance, I'm sure is something that's a high cost to the company, and they want those moving. So you need to know all that stuff.
Absolutely. We have a maintenance department that maintains these machines just like a vehicle would be. You have a routine maintenance, a certain amount of hour service. And then we do a pre-shift inspection on every piece of equipment we put foot on to operate. And that's a thorough going over the equipment, making sure tracks ain't broke, making sure oil and oil levels are great, and full to the max of what they need to be. And then you just keep your eye on things. Everything is, you got to, trying to figure out the words for this. You got to just pay attention while you're operating. You got to look at your surroundings and look at your ground and look at your equipment and make sure there's nobody in the area. So there's a lot of maintenance that goes on with it.
So staying alert, keeping your head on a swivel, kind of thing.
Absolutely, all the time. And technology also. We have Caterpillar has a system software that could track idling time. They can track the amount of material being moved. They can track just about anything on that machine. They can tell you the time, date of when it happened on that machine. So that's a big piece of software that we use.
Okay. So tell me what a typical work shift looks like for you. What are some of the thoughts and strategies that go into where you're digging, where you're boring, where you're digging ditches, how deep you're going, the logistics of scooping up the raw materials, getting it into trucks, moving it around, safety protocols, any kind of prep work or any kind of preventative maintenance. Kind of walk me through that average day, if you were.
All right, so we have shift work here on facility, which is 12-hour shifts. They typically work a few weeks of days and then switch over to a few weeks of nights. As for myself, I'm on days, so I work 10-hour days, Monday through Friday, and I still run equipment that way. But the safety part of it is obviously the SOPs. We got what we call a JHA, which is a job hazard analysis paper that we have to fill out to look at the work area that we're going to be doing the work on before and after the work is completed. And then just communications with different people, making sure we're all on the same page of what we need to do. If we're digging a ditch, how deep it needs to be. If we're moving material, how much we need to move, and where we need to move it to, and if it's environmentally safe to do that, to put it in certain areas, because everything obviously is needs to be covered by the environment. You know, we replace the ground that we dig, we replace back and make it a reclaimed area.
Okay, excellent. So what are some of the challenges that you face in any? So what are some of the challenges you face in a given day, and how do you overcome those to make sure you're getting the job done?
Well, obviously, everybody just about has to face weather. We are an open mind, so we face rain, snow, wind. So that's one of your biggest challenges every day. It's just your elements that you're working around. Other than that, it's just the amount of change that we go through here, because we can leave one day knowing that we're going to start something the next day, but the whole environment and everything's changed. So we got to change our plan of action when we're doing a job.
Okay. So now, for me, I know that I would be excited. I think just about every day, driving up to the mine, getting out of my car and seeing these huge pieces of machinery and knowing that I get to hop in one of these and drive it. So that's me. But for you, what's your favorite part about this job?
Well, you're not wrong there. I mean, it's always a thrill to get in to a piece of equipment, and it's like running a video game sometimes, you know, in a way.
So that never kind of goes away.
It never goes away. Now, there's things that get repetitive, and you get a little bored with it, but there's so many changes here, and we do so many different jobs with equipment that you just never really get that bored with it. It's always a exciting time to get on a piece of equipment and do something with that.
All right, excellent. Listening to our video chat here today are high school kids and junior high school kids across the country. What would be your recommendation to anyone that's listening to you today and says, that's exactly what I want to do? What kind of advice would you give that person?
Well, first I would say this company provides so well for your family. It's a great company to work for. Obviously, it's the largest in the agricultural industry, fertilizer-wise, in the world or globally. And I mean, we still need to produce for food that we eat later on in life. So these kids today, this could be their future. This is the future of Nutrien. It's just a great place to work. And there's multiple things you can do. You don't just have to run equipment. There's so many other jobs available here in different aspects of things with environmental. I even go and check water samples. We got over 14,000 acres of water on site that we have to manage to send some to the rivers. Some of it's processed. It goes back to the plants to be reused. But I mean, we have a ton of things that can be done down here, and it's just a great place to work.
Excellent. Sounds very fulfilling too. Fertilizer is directly responsible for over half of the food that we have throughout the world. So without fertilizer, we'd have half as much food. So I imagine it feels pretty good feeding the world.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Ricky, thank you so much for your time today. It was absolute pleasure speaking with you, learning more about what you do and the kinds of equipment that you operate. And to be 100% honest, I really hope I can get down there to North Carolina sometime soon and see these compressor machines in action.
Absolutely. It would be an honor to have you here.
All right. Thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you.
Hello, Ricky, and happy Global Fertilizer Day to you.
How are you doing? Doing great.
Doing really well, thank you. Excellent interview. You had some great advice for our teachers and our students, and we appreciate your time that you're taking here today.
Thank you so much.
I got to tell you, before we get started on the questions, we've got the most questions for your session from anybody. So, good job. Well, you inspired people.
That's good. It's always a great thing to inspire the children and kids.
That's right. Well, let's start with an easy one then.
All right.
So what special training or education did you need to get the job that you've got today, Ricky?
Well, training part of it is done here on facility. They train you in anything you do over here. It doesn't matter if you come from college, if you come from straight from high school. You have to have a high school diploma, and then you can put your application in and come straight in and start at the bottom and work your way up. But this company, just the training, the classes that they offer here for any piece of equipment you touch or run, or anything else you do, you're going to be trained before they allow you to go out and do it by yourself. So it's always important, and it's a great thing that this company does.
Nice. Now, keeping in mind we've got middle schoolers, we've got high schoolers. Question that came in here is, what high school, college, technical classes, whatever you took, were the most beneficial for your career?
Well, I would say all through school, we learn math, we learn writing, we learn reading. That's three things that you can never go wrong. I mean, really apply yourself for them three things, because we deal with numbers every day. We read emails every day, and we write emails every day to communicate with management and anybody else on plant site. So just knowing the ins and outs of the basic stuff really is just beneficial for this job and any other job on plant.
Nice. You mentioned in your video that it could be up to $50 million for one piece of equipment. We must have, you inspired again, people. But what kinds of equipment specifically are you talking about?
You broke up right there at the very end.
Oh, sorry. So what kind of equipment specifically are you talking about?
Okay, so the drag lines are the biggest equipment that we have here on plant site. We got 3 of them that operate, and that's pretty much the main machines that get us the fertilizer out the ground. They cost the most, and they're up there in the almost 100 million range for a brand new machine. The shovel was what I was talking about in my interview, which we were running at one time. We no longer run that shovel. We have went to a different process. But that was the one that was up to the $50 million range for brand new. And we used to pre-strip with it. We would strip off the top layer of overburden so they could get down to the phosphate and to the ore. But yeah, these are some of obviously the biggest pieces of equipment in the world, drag lines.
So this was another interesting question. Are you ever afraid you're going to break this very expensive equipment?
Yeah, in a way. We take every precaution we can to do a pre-shift, to check them out, to maintenance them like they're supposed to. So, it's our job to run them, and things do get broke, and that's why we have a crew here to be able to fix things when it does. So yeah, in a way, we do worry about it, but then in a way, we know our jobs because we're trained to do it. So therefore, mechanical failures do happen from time to time. So it's just got to be fixed.
Talk a little bit about the water management. We've gotten some questions about that. What exactly do you mean by water management in the context of a mine?
Well, our processing plants uses water, and it has P2O5 in it, which is a type of acid. And then it gets sent up to a stack where it dries, and then we dig it, and all the other materials, which is clay, sand, it all gets mixed into a slurry, and we pump it out back into the reclaimed areas, and then we cap it later on. But the water, it just comes from that, and then we got just rainwater, hurricane water. So there's just, like I said, I think there's 14,000 acres of water that we control just in this department that goes to the river, and it's got to be treated, to the environmental standards of what actually above the environmental standards of what it needs to be released back into the river system. So we treat things for all the impurities and get rid of them so we can get it treated and get back to the rivers.
Wow, I wouldn't have guessed that water management was such an important part of your job.
Super important here at Nutrien.
So on your title, it says you're a heavy equipment operator too. One of the questions that came in, which I think is fantastic, is how many different pieces of equipment do you estimate you can operate?
I would say at least 15 to 20 different pieces of equipment that I've been trained to run. As far as you know, your basic dozers, your motor graders, excavators, but then we have haul trucks and boom trucks, and just the list goes on and on and on of just by any kind of piece of equipment you could imagine. Really, we some of them we have to be certified. We go to class and have to actually have a license to run, which is like a forklift or something of that nature. But most of the other equipment we just put in time with a trained operator, and then eventually get signed off to go on your own there.
Were you one of those guys in high school that could just drive anything?
I want to say I was, yeah. I live in an area and grew up in an area around farming, so I already had a little bit of experience on tractors, farm tractors and stuff. So it was kind of a transition. Now I still had to learn a lot. Don't get me wrong; it was a learning process, but yeah, it was something that I really enjoyed.
Speaking of growing up, we got a question here. Did you grow up on a farm, and were you part of FAA or 4-H, FFA or 4-H when you were a kid?
Yeah, I did a little FFA in high school. I took the couple classes there in high school with that. I did not grow up on a farm, but I grew up very close around people that were farming and had some summer jobs doing farming back when I was in school. So did a little bit of the FFA. I didn't get really involved too much, but just a little bit back in school.
Okay. Well, we got a tough question that just came in from our man Chris. So a few years ago, a hurricane came through North Carolina. How did you prepare all of your equipment for that, and how do you ensure that environmental safety is complied with after and during such an event?
So it's a long process, a lot of planning with upper management when hurricane comes, but we do have a process, and we have to make sure we have storage in our areas of holding water, the proper amount of storage. So we pump a lot of water out before a hurricane event, and then we just go from there. We put a plan together with management, and we can transfer water to different areas, knowing the volumes of what we got, and then hope for the best after that.
Yeah, during your interview, you talked about dealing with the elements. Mother Nature's always got the trump card, doesn't she?
Absolutely.
I got one last question for you, Ricky. You gave some really nice advice during your interview especially to our kids who are listening. You said one of the things you really need to be careful about is pick a good company. Pick a company that will take care of you like family. Another thing you said was be open to a range of different kinds of jobs, because you don't know what you're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis. In addition to those pieces of advice, do you have any other advice for our kids who are watching?
Yeah, absolutely. I know we talked a little bit about what you need to come down here, and I know a high school diploma is necessary, but I don't deter kids from going to college. It's very important, and we have just so many jobs, engineer jobs, environmental jobs. I mean, IT, computer tech, and obviously we know technology is taking over. Learn as much of that stuff as you can. We have starting to run with remote controls, not even sitting in the seats of this equipment for our safety, and it's a lot to take in. So go to school, pursue a college career, and try to find something you do. You can always come back to running equipment or taking another job here, but we definitely need people to want to come work here. It's a great company. They provide so well for you, and obviously we need to feed the future. So that's who we're counting on.
Ricky, I want to wrap up by underlining something you just said, and that is the job is feeding the world, but there are a ton of jobs within that, whether it's an accountant or an IT guy or an equipment operator or any of these careers that we've seen. I love the fact that you've just illustrated such a wide range of jobs when really all we wanted to do was talk about big tractors. It's big tractors and it's everything else. Ricky,
Big tractors is what makes this company go. Big tractors is what makes this company go, but there's a lot of other things involved.
Thank you, Ricky. We appreciate it. Happy Global Ag Day.
Thank y'all so much for having me.
Thank you.